Trenton Journal is for people who won't take no for an answer. Trenton Journal is for community leaders. Trenton Journal is for people who won't settle. Trenton Journal highlights some of the positive voices in the community and fills in the information gaps through original reporting.
Welcome to Capital Conversations. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Kenneth Miles, Editor-in-Chief and founder of the Trenton Journal. Each episode, we bring you in-depth discussions with leaders, experts, and change makers who are making their impact in Trenton. Today, we welcome artist Mel Leipzig to sit down and talk with us. Mel, thank you for joining us.
I taught at Columbia. I taught at Queens College, and I taught at an adult education center on Long Island. Now, they were part-time jobs, really. In other words, I was only given one class, and, so I'd be like, you'd call an adjunct teacher or something like that. Then when I got married, it dawned on me I had to support my wife, with a real job. So I made a huge circle from, from Vermont, actually, down to Maryland. Just a huge circle. I never even knew what a community college was, I'll tell you the truth. And I wrote letters, to all the schools I found there. Now, when I went to school in, my parents, by the way, especially my mother, was opposed to my being an artist. And my mother was almost furious that I would even spend money on going to an art school. So luckily, I got into Cooper Union, which, have you heard of that, Cooper Union?
I have.
Which was a free art school at the time. It costs money now, but in those days it was free. I assure you, my parents would not have mentioned, would not have given me the money to go to an art school. And so I went to Cooper Union. Now, to get a job, I finally got an answer from Mercer County Community College. And I was supposed to meet three men. This is really funny. In the Hotel Americana. It was like a joke, it seemed. And so I went to the three men there. Now, one of the people whom I met there was a man named Sam Welling, who at that time was hired by Mercer County Community College to enlarge the college. In other words, it was originally a school of fine and industrial arts. It really started out as an art school. There's a similar one up in Newark, actually. But I go into this office, and there's Sam, and Sam had gone to Cooper Union, and he says, "You went to Cooper Union. You got to be good. You're hired." So I went home and I told my wife, I said, "I have a job in Trenton, And so that's the reason I ended up moving to Trenton, because I got this job at the community college. I love teaching. And I'll be honest with you. When I say I love teaching, I love my students. I guess I can say this. I didn't like the administration. Administrations are entirely different. I don't want to go into it. It's not proper for this, but they're not qualified as far as I can see. They're just administrators. So, but I really love my students, and in fact, one of my a guy I know, I remember his name was right. I forgot to say. he was African American, and he taught at Trenton State. And he once made a statement that I was at a meeting of all the colleges. He said, every semester, I fall in love with my students. And that's true. It's unbelievable.
Why?
John Montgomery is my student.
Why did you have such a connection with your students?
I'll tell you the truth. I learned things from them. I like them as people, too. And I'll tell you the truth. Students are very very thankful to you if they notice that you really care about them and that you're interested in them as people. Now, when I taught, I'll say this: I'm a realist painter. I'm part of the realist movement, in fact, in painting. But if I had students whom I saw were interested in doing non-objective painting or abstract painting, they did that. I encouraged them. And I knew about a non-objective painting. I just didn't want to do it. I always wanted to paint the figure. And so I always did. But if you go into an art class and you see everybody in the art class is painting the exact same way in modern times, you know that that's a bad teacher, because it means that he's just teaching what his way of painting to buttress, I guess you would say, his reputation. They're not interested in you as an individual. And to teach art now in modern times, because I've known you have to really be open to all sorts of things, to conceptual art. I'm open to that too. Where the idea behind the painting is almost the painting itself, and non-objective painting. And then I did have students who wanted to paint, figuratively, but like I would have students who were very good landscape painters. I'm not interested in landscape. So I'm only interested in landscape only to the extent if I can put a figure in it. A person has to be in the painting. And I'll tell you something, though. This is like a joke almost. My children are somewhat under the impression, they say this is a joke, I think, that I only had children so I could get more models. and also my wife, at first when we first got married, she kept saying, "When are you going to paint me? When are you going to paint me?" So I started painting her over and over and over again until finally Mary Jo said, "Enough! I've had enough of this. Go get your students to pose for you. I'm not doing this anymore." She got sick and tired of doing it. And even now that I have grandchildren, I have 5 grandchildren, my children are convinced that I have grandchildren now, so I can paint them too.
Do you paint every day?
Yes.
What is your favorite piece that you've ever created? You have a lot.
I have a lot. I'll tell you what it is. And too bad I didn't bring them with me. I have 2 paintings that are my favorite paintings. It's called Joshua's Room, my son's room, and Francesca's room, my wife's, my daughter's room, Francesca's room. Now, I got to explain to you what my son's painting looks like. I had a very rigid upbringing, My parents were my mother especially was opposed to my becoming a painter and all that stuff, and was even nasty about it. My father wasn't so bad. Because I'll give you an example. I got into Yale. My trunks were packed. Yale had this very famous abstract painter. His name was Joseph Albers. He had taught at the Bauhaus. He knew painters like Paul Klee. They were his teachers, and Vasily Kandinsky. And so my trunks were packed to go to Yale. My mother says to me, "You should be going to Yale like I should be going to Peru," and I said I wouldn't be pressure right to my mother. "You better pack your bags, Ma, because I'm going." My father, thank God, he was better. He didn't understand anything about art, but he came and sat me down without my mother knowing it, because she would have been furious. And he said, he knew didn't want to live at the dorms. I don't like that stuff living. I like my freedom, just to have an apartment of my own. And so he said, "I want you to tell me how much you have to pay a month for rent and how much you have to pay for food, and I will send you a check for half that amount every month."
What would you say is the highlight of your career?
I am proud of this fact. I did two things in my life that my parents were opposed to, especially my mother. I married the woman I love, and I painted. And just the mere fact that if I had reached this age, if anybody reaches this age and you feel, my God, I've wasted my life, what have I done, I don't feel I've wasted my life. I did what I intended to do. So, and I'm saying, in a certain way, I'm proud of that. That I really, stuck to my guns. And, painting is, I'm saying it's very life-giving, I think. But it's not easy. You are always thinking about, problems you have to solve with the painting and stuff like that. And also, the other thing is this, which was different about living in New York than living here in Trenton. In New York, by the way, there are so many artists who live in New York, And what do you do if you're an artist? You have friends over to your house for dinner, You show them your paintings. Then the next they tell you what they think. Then the next week you go over to their house and they show you their painting. It goes on and on like that. It becomes really, you have so many voices. It becomes unbelievable. Now, I know this might seem like an insult to Trenton, but when I moved to Trenton, what was there to do in Trenton? There was nothing to do, basically, just think about restaurants and stuff like that. Trenton, New York is restaurant city. Yeah. You go to a restaurant and you can go to a different restaurant every day. Every time I did paintings in New York, I went out to a different restaurant. Because I like taking out people to restaurants. I'm going to take you to a restaurant too. But there was nothing to do in Trenton but paint. And I loved it. I loved that. I loved that feeling that I could just paint without all these voices, hearing all these opinions. I'll tell you the truth, artists, you sometimes have problems with artists looking at your work, other artists. Sometimes artists are jealous. They are. It's just an automatic thing almost. And so they'll say nasty things about your work. Or else they'll say extremely nice things because they don't want to hurt your feelings, you know. Whereas I'll tell you the truth, both my wife and my children are very honest with me. They don't care if they hurt their father's feelings, I'll tell you that much.
But you have a celebration that's coming up in October at the Ellerslie Museum.
Oh yeah, that's different. The show at the Ellerslie Museum, which is being organized, well, it's mainly being organized by Joan Perks. And the thing about the show, which is real, she's quite extraordinary. She's really an extraordinary woman. The show is going to be in two parts. One part is going to be called, the show is simply going to be called Mel at 90, you know, because I'm 90. Which is okay. I'll tell you the truth, I don't know how you're supposed to feel when you're 90. I don't feel 90.
How do you feel?
If somebody asked me how I felt, I feel I'm almost in my 20s, I'll tell you the truth, because I paint, you know. I mean, I don't feel like an old man. I mean, that's what painting does for you, because it's life-giving. But so there's supposed to be a show of me and my students. Now, since most of my art students came actually when I was teaching at Mercer County Community College. I taught there for 40 years, you know. And I retired in 2011, I believe. So most of my students are from there. I keep getting letters from them and stuff like that. One show will be of my former students. And then the second show is going to be of me with as part of the Realist movement, with other major painters from the Realist movement, people who are dead now even, people like Philip Pearlstein, who is a very well-known painter. I know the people who run his gallery, you know, they know me and stuff, and I knew Pearlstein. Philip Pearlstein, Alex Katz, you know, famous artists who are in the museum collections. So they'll be coming, and that show will be at Ellerslie. That will be at Ellerslie.
You've been painting for a long time, long time.
I've been painting all my life.
Do you still hear the voices?
No, I
when I say that, I'm talking about your self-critic, your inner critic.
Yeah, wait. That's an interesting thing that you say. I still remember things that my teachers told me, and some of the things that they told me were good. I remember I had a teacher at Cooper Union. His name was Morris Cantor. He had a very thick Jewish accent. But he taught me how to use white, and I use white very strongly in my paintings. But he also had, I thought, a bad side to him. He thought artists should change their styles constantly, you know. Like, so if you saw a show of Morris Cantor's work, you would not know who he was, because you'd see so many different images, you know, in so many different ways. Painted abstractly, painted realistic. His most famous painting is called Farewell to Union Square, which Union Square in New York used to be an artist's hangout. And he did a painting of two roses being thrown out the window, and you see Union Square behind it.
Well, before we conclude the interview, I have to ask you about Larry Hilton, your friend.
Oh, I love Larry.
And how much
my God,
he helped you in your career in Trenton.
I can't tell you how much that me. I'm really sorry about this, but Larry was the most generous person I have ever met, ever in my life. You know, I mean, he ended up, besides the things I told you, besides painting the house and getting me the lights and stuff like that, and getting me all these goddamn models that I got. You know, it's unbelievable. In fact, my first show was supposed to be at Gallery Anarch in New York, which is the gallery that represents me, was supposed to be dedicated to Larry, and it would be in his honor, but he hadn't died then. But you have no idea. I mean, let's face it. He only helped me. It had nothing to do with his liking me. That had nothing to do with it. It dealt with what he believed in me as a painter. He really thought I was a really important painter. And he did everything possible to help me. He would bring me food. And he didn't like it if people brought me food that was junk food. He says, that's not good for you. You know, and you got to think of this, really. I'm a white guy. He's African American. And he was doing all this for me because he believes in me as an artist. And one of the reasons I'm of course in this bad shape now. Well, I'm not in bad shape actually. I'm in this that I don't have my apartment and everything. I have I have an apartment. Is that because when I found out that Larry had died, I was in such chaos in a way. I was shocked. I didn't realize that he was even sick, And every time I saw him, I thought he looked fine. But then I found out that he died. Some of my friends said he did look bad. Really? I didn't notice that. But you have no idea. I thought of him like a gift from heaven. I'll tell you the truth. I don't believe in organized religion. I'm Jewish, and I don't believe in organized religion. But I believe in God. I believe there is. I'm not an atheist. I don't think you can believe that this world exists without there being a God. And all this argument between these religions is nonsense, between Judaism, Catholicism, and Islam. They're all basically monotheistic religions, and they all basically believe the same thing. It's kind of stupid. It's just human beings acting like assholes, and being bad, being evil. But Larry Hilton was really like, I have never in my life met a person like him. He knew, only once, it's true, he did try some things with me. I think the painting which I like the most of Larry is not the one that's in this book, but the one I did of him and his sister. It's called Larry, a portrait of Larry Hilton and his sister. But he did ask me, which he said, can't you make my sister a little thinner? Because she was kind of heavy. Mm-hmm. In a way, I said, no, I can't. I won't do that. And then he once asked me, this was really kind of funny, he Larry liked he liked the girls. I'll tell you that much. But one thing about Larry was he wanted me to do a painting of this girl who would post me in the nude, which was fine. I figured, oh, that would be great. I'll have a chance to do a nude. He says, but you have to put somebody else's face on her. Not her face. I can't do that. I can't put on somebody else's face. So
Wow.
that ended that project. That was ridiculous that I was going to put somebody else's.
So people who are viewing this, how can they find out information about your upcoming event at the Ellerslie?
Oh, at Ellerslie? Let's see. It's already on Facebook.
Go on Facebook.
Yeah, it's already on Facebook. And former students of mine have already been contacted by Joan Perks. You know, and Joan is an extraordinary woman. She's a lot like Larry.
Okay.
I think she has a lot of. In fact, I even told her that the last time I saw her, and she accepted that as a compliment.
So we'll find out the information, and we'll make sure that we'll put it on the lower third when people view this.
Yeah.
But I thank you so much for joining us and sitting down and letting us know about your upcoming events and speaking about your career.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're a terrific young man.
I'm aware that too.
Thank you.
No, we're going to make it happen because I'm going to give you my number, and we're finally going to make it happen.
Okay, great.
All right? Thank you so much.
That's good.
Thank you for joining us.